Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast, as always with myself Shane Stapleton, joined by Shane Brophy of the Nina Guardian, who you can see is absolutely ecstatic, waving the Lorrha colours. No point in starting anywhere else. The Thurles against Kiladangan replay doesn't matter. Clonmel's glory doesn't matter. All that matters is Lorrha are back. So congratulations, brilliant victory over Thurles there.
Yeah, that sounds good. I know your sort of logo is Tip our back, so it's nice to put Tip in. We get something our back this year anyway. So.
Well, talk to us about it. You know, it was a tight game against Thurles, especially coming down last. Second time in, I suppose, both games that you were miles ahead. You were 8 points ahead this time. Made hard work of it, but look, the main thing is you got over the line.
We were 8 points ahead, but I don't think the flow of the game was suggested that we were 8 points better. Like the scoreline suggested as such, but just the flow of the play, like Thurles they're a very, very hard team to hurl against. Like their ability on the ball is ridiculous. The speed at which they get the ball into their hands. Like there was times where in the game where I thought we had forced the turnover, and they rarely fumble the ball. And the occasional time they did fumble it, it's like, okay, we're in here now. We'll get the flick in and we'll get it to the ground. No, they had the loose ball in their hand within a split second. They're an incredibly sharp team to play against. Like we wouldn't play the style of course, the speed of what Thurles play very often, and you can see why they are, because like they're training with all their senior guys, and it was something I noticed in the Kiladangan match how incredibly quick they move the ball. Like you think you have going to make a tackle, the ball is gone, but going back to the game, it was incredibly nervy. And even at halftime when we were 3 points up, I wouldn't say concerned, but I was worried that I think they had owned an awful lot of the ball. Like we weren't winning an awful lot of breaks. We were getting great joy when we were able to bypass their half back line and get the ball straight into Bonner. But anything that dropped into Michael Cahill and their half back line, we were struggling a bit, and they were working the ball up the field and getting some cracking scores into the breeze that was there. But the second half was. I suppose if we'd gotten maybe one of those goal chances at the start of the second half, it could have been a little comfortable. But I suppose it was sweeter the way it was done, having to get the last 2 scores to win it, and hold out at the finish.
Yeah, because what was it? Something like maybe 3 goal chances at the start of the second half, and I know you rejigged the team a little bit in the second half. Brian Hogan was playing. Was he halfback or midfield? And then he moved up.
He started wing back.
Okay.
But I suppose after 10 or 15 minutes, I think it's proof that it doesn't matter how the caliber of player, whether they're inter-county, if they miss the guts of a season of sharpness and stamina work, you're going to get caught out by, and they particularly get the likes of Sarsfield's team, they'll try and run you, and they did. And look, we had to put him in half forward before half time. He caught a couple of great balls and won a couple of frees that we didn't take. I suppose that's probably something we have to work on for going forward. Is we left a lot of our long range free taking that was very, very good for so long. We started to let us down, so that's something we have to tidy up. But he went in full forward. He started back in the wing. We put we put Colin Fogarty centre forward and Keane on the wing and Bonner inside, and then we brought Bonner out in the last 15 minutes as well. Keane and Brian inside. So having those options to go along is massive, particularly when you're under pressure and you can maybe sky one long and maybe the break could fall your way, and we've managed to do that. Yeah,
and and Niall McIntyre seemed to drop a little bit deeper as well.
Did he? Made a massive second half. He came out with some savage ball. Michael Dolan had a huge second half. Darragh more of a very swept up, some dangerous ball. It was very, very little ball going down his wing, but God, he was very, very good at reading the play. That guy is a savage talent. He really can go as far as he wants if he wants to. There's no doubt about it.
And we could see, of course, you on the stream there the whole time. You could see you marching up and down. You seemed like just calm and collected, sort of pacing up and down, but you were on fire inside, were you?
Oh yeah. I suppose the regulation for what it is that you're only allowed 3 on the, I think it's 3 on the inside the rope and Ina, so it's handy for me. I'm the one that sits back and stuff and maybe throws in me 2 cents every few minutes. But yeah, it's sort of it's good in one way because sometimes you're pacing the line, you can see nothing. Like you really maybe you just have to stand back and stuff. And look, there's no doubt when we went to point down, I said, God, have we anything left here? Because we did look a little leggy in a lot of in the game. Was like that was our third weekend in a row, and lads were. I didn't a few guys that I would note for having been a bit of zip in their legs and to be sharp on the breaking ball. They were just that half yard off it, but geez, they're incredible. Like that was the fifth game. Fourth or fifth game this year we've come from behind in the last 15 minutes, like so.
Did you what did you think when am I right in saying it was Aidan Ryan, the cornerback for Sars, who had a sideline cut at the end and it just played a little bit wide? You knew all game this lad has some distance on his strike, whether it's on the ground or in the hand.
I can remember what I was doing. I was screaming into Dennis O'Mara they had two guys free in the middle of the field, and like we were a man short because they could have popped it to the first guy and he could have had a shot at goal. They could have popped it right across the field to another free man that had a shot at goal. So I was really more worried that they would try and go short. Like so, but I don't know whether the referee had told Aidan Ryan you have to go direct from it's one shot and that's it. So he had two massive games. Aidan Ryan, he really causes awful trouble in the middle of the field. His power and the way they were able to work him into long range shooting situations, like they were very, very slick on their own puck outs. Really, really good to hurlers. And it was a relief because you sort of knew that that was the chance, because I think it had gone well beyond I think it had gone over 3 minutes injury time at that stage. I think 22 were signalled. Yeah,
like some great performances in Thurles as well. Jack Lanigan, and I'm not sure why he was taken off there at the end. Maybe there was an injury.
I think he had a hamstring went, or a bit of a twinge there. But like I think he missed a very scoreable free. I think 10 minutes to go. I think they had forced a turnover on us maybe, and there was I don't know, there was an overcarry or a touching the ball in the ground. Like I thought it was a long way out, but I thought from the way he was striking them all day, I thought that was a key moment as well.
Yeah, actually, I noticed that Tommy Maher was playing against. He was playing for the Minute Freshers last night against UCD Freshers that I'm involved in. Of course, one of your lads, Donegal O'Mara, was with the UCD Freshers last night. Who else on the Thurles team would have impressed you? Because we should pay tribute to a brilliant performance from them across both games.
Yeah, absolutely, Asher. Certainly, Kevin Bracken in the goals is very good. Like you think of how many goalkeepers have passed through Thurles over the last 20 years and never got a shot in goals at senior level, because Paddy McCormick is there. Like Paddy must be in goals 20 years now for a senior team. He's there a long time. Like he caught two balls from over his crossbar. Like that was 2 points we would have got normally, maybe against most other goalkeepers. And particularly the one at the very end of Brian Hogan, he got everything behind the free from his own 45. And you thought, geez, that would be tonic one. He was very good. Thought the fullback really did pretty David Maher. I thought Michael Cahill had a big first half. I suppose he did twinge the hamstring just before half time. And I did think, while there's no doubt he was hampered a bit in the second half, I thought it was a big call for Thurles to take him off. I thought maybe if you get him to 10 minutes to go, you see him out. Was maybe he signaled that he couldn't go on. I can't say, but I thought that was a big relief, because I did think we got a small bit more joy when he wasn't there in the last 10 minutes. While Padun came on and got on a bit of ball. I just thought a caliber player, Michael Cahill, would have been able to see his way through that match. He mightn't have done an awful lot of running, but he would have positioned himself into where he needed to be.
Yeah, Mikey O'Brien definitely made a bit of an impact when he came in. But what I want to ask you about is, the final whistle. You look like you were happy enough there.
That's my profile picture. Sure. Look, it was there's definitely one I could enjoy, like, because I did a personal column in the paper this week. In all fairness, I suppose just on the last couple of years, and like I would have always said to people, like, I got no enjoyment out of last year's intermediate win because, it's not that no joy, but the whole year was pressure. Like, if we didn't win that championship, was everybody saying Lorrha is so far ahead of everyone that, like, then you're stuck down in intermediate for another year. Whereas, and we got through, and sort of this year we were able to relax and hurl a bit freer. And but but like there was no chat talk of winning a Premier Intermediate. It was about, I thought maybe a good year for us this year would have been maybe getting to the knockout stages and take it from there. Like, but sure, it's gas when losing is a habit in 2021. When it becomes a habit again, like it's 17 championship games unbeaten now, going back 2 years, like 16 wins in a draw.
The last time I heard about a team having 17 wins in a row, they fell over in the World Cup quarterfinal.
Oh Jesus! No. Hopefully we have a few more in us before that goes now. So,
what were the scenes like in the dressing room afterwards? Like Ken Hogan was obviously delighted when he was being interviewed.
Yeah, it was about. I'd say it was a good 3/4 of an hour before I got into the dressing room, and I just, in fairness, I must say, Paddy McCormack, I thought he was the best defeated speech I've ever heard in a dressing room. He was like, there was probably a fair chance all the Thurles players were probably back in Thurles by the time I got into the dressing room. Like, and most of our players probably were in there a good 15-20 minutes. And in fairness to Paddy and their selector or their secretary, they hung around and made sure that they spoke to us as a group. They weren't going to speak to us in dribs and drabs, and just the class of the man, like in the class of the club, really Thurles, like they were incredible. Like I know we might have had a few spars maybe on the sideline and stuff during the game, but that's all part of it. Like, so you'd always be fighting your corner over decisions and things like. But just he did remark, he was wondering, like, this is a bit of a rugby dressing room, he said, because we managed to commandeer an ice bucket with about 30 bottles of beer, and lads were able to sit down, and it was sort of a nice moment, as Paddy said, like these 10 or 15 minutes where you could sit down as a group, have a beer, and just soak in what you've achieved. Like, you can sort of be in a rush maybe to go celebrate, but like I'm sure you had it the same, that dressing room for 10 or 15 minutes after Coola won, and maybe Leinster and All Ireland, they're special times, like before you break up as a group.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And next, of course, then is the little matter of a Munster Club Championship. Corofin of Clare are first up. Is that a quarterfinal or semi-final?
Quarterfinal. It's a home game, so it's down for Nina on Sunday week. So, look, it's something we'll be going after. Isn't like, but you don't get too many of these opportunities. Like we were in this competition once before in 2007. And it's always been a sort of a little regret of mine. I was secretary at the time that we played Clonmel, like we were coming at that stage. The Clare, like that Clonmel team in 07 won the Clare Senior in the following year. That's how good they were. Like, and you think it took them another 15 years to win their second one. Like, so last Sunday. So strangely enough, we played very, very few challenge matches this year. I think we've only played two. One was Clonmel, who won the Clare Senior, and one was Haskell Fohana, who were in the replay of the Galway Premier Intermediate final, I think, so, or Senior B final. So I suppose maybe it'd be weird in a way if the three of us all won challenge or won championships. But look, we'll go after it, because like I have looked on enviously at the clubs that have gotten to Croke Park and experienced, like the Tullaroans and all their clubs in Kilkenny, and there is a what would you say? I haven't understood the sort of the laissez-faire attitude that tip clubs have to maybe winning a Munster and an All Ireland club. Like, it's unique stuff. Look, could Lorrha go on and win a Tipperary Senior? We could, but it's going to be very, very hard for us to do it. Like, there's so many clubs ahead of us and underage and stuff. Like, so like I look at what Kiladangan did back in 05 when they won the first ever club intermediate All Ireland. That was the springboard for everything they did. Like, and I would think that if you ask Kiladangan what was bigger, the All Ireland intermediate club in 05 or the 2020 senior, I'd say a lot of them, I'd say it'd be 50-50 for a lot of people. It's like in that club, like, just it's unique in some ways. Look, I'm not going to say we're going to go on and win it, but we'll be given a right good go, like, because look, you have a lot of good teams in it. Like, you have Corofin, you have the Limerick champions, Drom and or Blackrock. You have Castle Lions in Cork. You have the Kerry senior champions, Croft O'Neill's. Like, they're probably coming in a little stale, but if they got on a run, like, they'll be fresher than everyone else. You have Thomastown and Kilkenny. You think after they were finally getting over the line in Kilkenny, like, they're the monkeys off the back now. They're off, like, and Tureen and Mayo are still going. Like, so it's but look, it won't be looking past Corofin. I'd say we lost to in 07. We were 8 points up in Clonmel 10 minutes into the second half, and we were beaten by 8. We just collapsed. I don't know whether the exertions finally got to us that year or what, but it was always a regret that we didn't get it. Because I think Clonmel went on and won the Munster that year and lost the semi-final. So we were talking, God, if we'd won that, we probably would have won Munster, maybe gotten to an All-Ireland. So, but look, it's a lovely position to be in. Like, it's great. Our under 21's out next weekend. Like, so, like a lot of there'll be 4 or 5. We one starter Derek Guinan and that, and about 4 or 5 of the subs. Like, so, like at least they're getting hurling too. Like, so it's look, it's brilliant. And then looking forward to being at senior level again next year and pitting your wits against Kiladangan and Sarsfield's first team and renewing rivalries with the likes of Toom and Kilarowan. Like, it's it'll be fantastic. Like, it's like probably you were probably got in Borrisalee. Like, it just gives everyone a boost. Like, you'll probably get lads back to the field next year, even if they only come back and hurl Junior C or hurl Junior B. It's more lads in the field. It's more maybe kids willing to maybe who are wishy-washy about doing another year at juvenile if they're struggling. They'll probably stay at it as well. Like, so it's they're definitely times to be enjoyed anyway.
Yeah, A Sully 180 says, was at that game back in 2007. Stephen Hogan going off for Lorrha.
Oh, Matt, that was it. Like, Stephen was our centre back, and he was a huge player for us. And like you think that Clare team that was Dara Conan's. He got one of the goals in the comeback. I think. No,
Conlon would have been playing.
Yeah, he would have been young enough. Tots O'Connell might have been on that team.
I'd say he's too young.
He's too young. Yeah. Was there Brian O'Connell? I must go back actually look through that.
Yeah.
The Clonlara teams that were bloody good. Were the O'Donovans from Clonlara too?
Yeah.
Yeah, the two O'Donovans would have been there.
Did they both play Cormac and Donald? Yeah.
I think they were off the first. That the 09 Clare under 21 team. I think they were I think they were John Conlon's vintage, if I'm not mistaken.
You could be right there. Yeah. I'm fairly sure I remember them playing in those runs.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, a point I'd make, and there's a couple of points within this. Like, it's absolutely brilliant going into a provincial championship. You know, I haven't been in one. It's unreal. And obviously, your manager Ken Hogan came very close to beating Ballyhale Shamrocks a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's been in it with Ballyhale and St. Rina's and Coolderry. It's got to an All-Ireland Coolderry.
Yeah. And actually, I remember him standing on the line when our Coola team played against Borris Kilcotton. It must be 7 years ago now at this stage. So he obviously would very much like a lot. He would appreciate, you know, what it can do for you as a club. Actually, like the journey you can take those players on is absolutely brilliant because there's just a bit of a high and a wave that you get on, and the term journey is mentioned a lot. And obviously, I saw it very close hand with Borrisalee in recent times. But the other thing is, let's say you go on a decent run, and this is a point that you know, any one of your players who happens to watch the show, if you can go on a run for a couple of months, that's a couple of months of playing really top-end intermediate teams across the country, hopefully across the country and not just Munster.
Well, that's why, they're technically senior teams now, so then they're all promoted.
And it means that you will be training collectively for another couple of months, hopefully. And like, you look at the teams that have come up from intermediate, Clara in Kilkenny, Rathmore in Kerry, Thomastown, whatever. You know, you see a lot of Mike Harkey, Ross Gray. You especially if you could come up and you want to stay up and whatever. Yeah. This extra couple of months of staying together now could be unreal for you. Now, who knows? Maybe Corofin could beat you. But if you can stay together for a couple of months, I think every one of your players should be thinking about this can help us be a real solid team and set us up lovely for 24.
Yeah, it's actually weird. Like, we last Christmas or just before Christmas, we had our medal presentation of the intermediate, and like Brian Carroll, our coach, was sort of addressing the crowd, and he did mention that we had the potential to get all the way to Crow Park as Premier Division. And it's just like, I don't know whether it got into the back of the heads of some of the players, I don't know, but it's strange that October next year, that thing he mentioned is still there, and it's 4 matches away from an All-Ireland. Like, that's how close it is, and I'm sure it's the same for. But it's probably harder for a club like Ballynahinch, who lost the county final, and now they have to try and gather themselves. Like, sure, their target was to get promoted back to intermediate, but I think for people for Ballynahinch now, and players, if they're only watching, like, this could be your springboard to winning the county intermediate next year. Is I say that extra bit of training, that bit of you can go on a run in Munster, it just might, it'll maybe take away that little bit of disappointment and maybe refocus already then for next year. It's I know it's I suppose it's like for a lot of clubs who don't play in this often, like it's sort of novel and it's nice. And look, you're representing Tipperary, like I'm sure. Remember when the Munster final was on last year, Monaleen and Roscrea, and both teams had to change into their county jerseys because there was a jersey clash. I'm sure Roscrea felt, I'd say there was an extra little bit of pressure when you stuck on that blue and gold jersey. Okay, I'm not hurling a Munster final just for Roscrea. I'm hurling representing Tip, like here, like there's a small bit of an honour with it too, like so.
And one of the big things too is players not to start thinking ahead to cups, that they just think, and But anyway, look, I'm sure you've all of that.
But like that strangely, we were, as I said a few minutes ago, I don't think there was any talk at the start of the year of us winning a county. We never, in the last 2 years, we never set a target of so we have to win this or we have to win that. It was more or less every game, like it was. And if you got to a final, that's when the pressure came on, because there was something tangible there. So like we would never have said we have to get back senior. Like it's like, I think I don't know what for all the debate that went on about senior over the years, as soon as we changed to Premier Intermediate, a lot of that debate just went. I think it's all this badge of honor crap that goes on. If you're senior, you're no. If you're not senior, you're nobody, which is nonsense. Like so.
No, absolutely. But I hope attitudes on that are changing.
Yeah.
We've managed to get 22 minutes into the show and not mentioned that the Tipperary County Final replay is on this weekend. Kiladangan against Thurles Sarsfields. The first game I thought was brilliant, even though it wasn't as high scoring as it might have been. And I'm really looking forward to this game. I expect this to go down to the wire again. What would you think?
Yeah, no, I think I'd be expecting a slightly more open game this time. I thought it was a bit like, while I thought it was fascinating tactically, there was sort of I thought it was a little cagey for a lot of the game, maybe for the last 15 minutes. I would expect, it's like anything, maybe a drawn final can be a little nervy. I think the second one will be a little more free flowing. It's the third meeting of the teams in championship. Throw in a fourth meeting if you go back to their league games. So there's also familiarity can be contempt. So it'd be interesting if there was a little bit of edge comes into it. I think, I wouldn't be expecting the setups to change too much. I suppose the big thing for me was, I would assume Willie Connor starts, and if he does start, will they put him in that sweeper role for Kiladangan, and which is what I would do. I just think his reading of the game and his ability to use the ball brilliantly would be exceptional, and that would allow maybe Alan Flynn to push up on Stephen Cahill and try and negate him, who was very, very dangerous I thought he was very fierce effective for. Or maybe Aidan McCormick, who I thought was equally effective. If they could maybe push him up on one of those and maybe try and put one of those in the back foot. Maybe if you put Flynn on the wing, you could allow Alan to get forward maybe and give yourself an extra long range shooting option as well. Or you could put Declan McGrath back into a defensive role and put Alan Flynn in the middle of the field. So I would assume, you'd have to think he'd have to start. But then I would have thought last Saturday that Mikey O'Brien would have started after the drawn county final, and he didn't.
Well, do you know what? Like, I think bringing up Alan Flynn is definitely a good one, because you know what he does for Kiladangan. He's such a leader back there, and I think what Bursley did with Brendan Maher a few years ago, put him on, for example, Pádraig Mahoney and other players who like to drift from the middle of the field. So how can you turn that against the opposition and put a player that likes driving forward out on him? So Alan Flynn, very good marker, but he could also, if Stephen Cahill starts in the half forward line and drifts. Yeah. Well, look, that should be manna from heaven for Alan Flynn if he can also get tight to him.
Yeah, so Stephen Cahill would have to worry about him then as well.
Yeah, and then Stephen Cahill might be more inclined to push up to an orthodox position, which would probably go against what Thurles want from him, which is to drift into space and get on ball. Because he is, like most games you'd watch this year, he'd score 3 or 4, so he's obviously very good. Like, this game's going to be tight all the way. What was it? Level 13 times the last day. Do you think there'll be any changes on the Thurles side then? Paddy Creedon, we obviously know he's a county panellist, didn't go his way the last time. Will Shawnee Butler, for example, start this time, because he's been very good this year?
Yeah, I know. Just to finish my point in Kiladangan, if Connor starts, I think they have two options. One, he comes in for John O'Mara, who went off early, or they sacrifice O'Mara starts. By all accounts, it was a minor knock he had during the week leading up to the drawn final. You start O'Mara in defence, but you maybe sacrifice Brian Malachney or a Dan O'Mara or an Andy Lucknan. Maybe you go with 5 forward. So it'd be interesting to see what they opt to do there, because I think the one area where Kiladangan will be definitely hoping for more is their full forward line. I thought they got very, very little return from there. The last, Paul Flynn was down for 1-3 playing the full forward line, but he did a lot of his best work in it deeper, dropping deep into the half forward line. He got 2 of his points from out on the wings on both sides. But back to Thurles, I think Shawnee Butler will start the replay. I didn't think Paddy Creedon did enough in the drawn match to I suppose they were maybe hoping the fact that maybe that he'd been left off the start for the previous 3 matches, that he would have that bit of hunger and drive to take the game by the scruff of the neck, but it didn't happen. And Shawnee Butler came on and he was very, very lively. So Thurles might opt to say we'll hold Shawnee again, but Shawnee has had a brilliant campaign, and probably I thought it was maybe harshly being the one that was sacrificed the last day to allow Paddy to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you expect it to be any more high scoring? I mean, you'd probably expect the teams to produce more than 119 to 22. I'd say it'll be just as tight and claustrophobic.
Yeah, I suppose I don't know what the weather conditions are like for Sunday, so I suppose it all depends. Both Thurles like to move the ball fast, and they like to maybe try and avoid. Not that they want to avoid physical contradiction, but if they're on the ball, they want to have the ball gone before a challenge comes in. They're very, very, as I said, the Premier Intermediate, they're very, very hard to tie down. So I'd love to. I hope we see a bit more 50-50 action. I thought a lot of the drawn matches divided where it got maybe the crowd into the game, and I believe there's only going to be one stand open on Sunday. They're not expecting, was there 5,000 the last day? So I suppose maybe it might help if you have all the fans in one stand rather than them spread across 2. It might generate a bit of an atmosphere. Because I did think it was slightly flat the last day, and yourself, you play in a ground with a good atmosphere. It helps the game. The players feed off it as well.
Yeah, because actually, if it's really loud, the decision making goes a bit out the window at times as well. Whereas if it's quiet, I suppose it's a bit more of a training session vibe. But look, I thought it was an engrossing game all the same. Who's going to do the damage here? I mean, is either team going to be able to avoid the opposition sweeper? Because both sides have good work rate from the forward lines. Ronan Maher got on too much ball for Kiladangan's liking the last day. Willie Connors did too much damage for Thurles' liking. So how does this change? Does either side say to the look, we're going to make sure that their sweeper doesn't do anything and sacrifice the forward?
Oh, I don't, because look, I suppose Thurles probably set the turn want Ronan as a deep line sweeper, was it Cathal Maloney then dropping back to pick up Billy Seymour at centre forward. So, and look, there's not much you can do about it, bar you play 7 forwards and go man on man, but you're not going to leave yourself with 5 backs back at the other end of the field. So I think they'll nearly much be identical in how they set up. And I did think as the match went on the last day, Kiladangan were better at maybe working the ball up the middle or playing the corners a bit better. So, and as I said, they'll be hoping for more from Brian Malachney and Dan O'Mara as well. They'll need more if they want to win this game. And I suppose similarly for Thurles, to get the match program from the last day. I suppose they could feel that maybe Billy McCarthy, I know he was carrying a bit of a knock the last day. Where would Billy go better in at full forward to give them a bit of a focal point in there and get maybe Owen Purcell and Darcy Eklund to work off him as well. So, I do think that maybe the first 10 minutes of this will be a little cagey as well, because I think there's an awful lot of respect between these two teams. They've met an awful lot in the last 5 or 6 years, as both the Kiladangan have had their share of wins, Thurles have had their share of wins. So I think my first paragraph in my preview this week is that, I suppose, the cliche, whoever learns most from a draw match tends to win the replay and stuff. I don't know about you, but I think the greater scope for improvement is in the Kiladangan team.
Oh, do you know what? I'd have gone the other way.
Yeah.
Actually, first off, I want to make this point that you're looking at a really tight game, and I was like, well, did either team score more from play? No, it was actually 13 points to 110. So in terms of from play, so they were very tight that way. I would have thought that we could see more from Thurles, like Aidan McCormack, I should say. He got a couple of points, but there's probably more in him. Dara Stapleton got 3, but I feel like they could get a little bit more ball inside to him, and he could do more damage. Like Conor Stapleton, he got a couple, but again, I'd be looking for more, and Billy McCarthy got just a point.
There was times in that draw match, all right, that you felt Thurles were looking for the perfect chance rather than maybe they had Owen Purcell had a couple of openings late on where maybe he could have taken on the shot and maybe was a little worried about the block and stuff like that, that maybe they were taking slightly too much out of the wall. Plus, Thurles didn't really have a goal threat they had one half chance in the first half when Owen Purcell hand passed across. Poor hand pass, like Paddy Creedon was all alone in the square to win an easy goal. Like so, I just thought a lot of the last game was played on Thurles' terms. So I just thought maybe if Kiladangan got a bit more of a, I thought they didn't look as fresh as Thurles the last. So that's what I thought. I thought they were always second to the ball a bit too often.
Yeah, but like I had to say, there's a lot of county quality players on both sides. So again, I think it'll go all the way down to the wire. It could be a puck of a ball in it. But I'm going to stick with what I've said for the last number of games. I had dismissed Thurles earlier in the year, but I'm all in on him these days. I think Thurles will win it. But, somewhere between 1 and 3 points. Is your neck on the block for Kiladangan?
I went for him in the drawn match, so I'm going to stay with them just on the I think that bit of scope, and I think their window for winning another county is, I wouldn't say this is their last chance, but they like a lot of their key players are pushing up towards the altar. I'm not saying it's going to get harder because underage is still decent, but it's not as good as it was a few years ago when they were dominating the A grade and things like that under 21 and minor, like so in our tips. So I'm going to still go with Kiladangan. To be great if it went to a replay and sort of finished under lights or something. Just that'd be no penalties. I hope like there is room. I just hope if it goes to extra time and still a draw that there's a second replay or something, because I can't have county senior hurling finals decided on penalties. No, and there is room. Like you think the winners are not due to play Clonmel till the 18th or 19th of November. Like so.
Yeah, well, if they were going to do a replay, I'd say the following week, because whoever ultimately comes through, they want to be able to enjoy celebrations before coming up against Clonmel. But like Billy Seymour, he only scored 1 from play the last day. It was a brilliant one out from the sideline, like you said.
His ball winning ability was super. Like even in the first half when they were sort of chasing it, like Jesus, he's really turned into a brilliant leader for that team.
Yeah, and like they still had, like Paul Flynn was as ever delivering in the final, but they could probably get kind of longer periods of him taking over games. And Sean Hayes obviously showed some very good moments, but can't help but think that Billy McCarthy is going to have a bigger impact. Conor Stapleton, Dara Stapleton, there's a lot of quality on that Thurles team. But brilliant final in prospect. Hopefully get your comments in and let us know how you think it'll go. The next thing I suppose we'll come to then, do you want to talk about the Camogie final?
Just
on top 5 in a row.
Five in a row. You think after Burgess to Harrow winning 7 in a row and Drom now winning 5, and I think Drom lost a good few of those finals to Burgess to Harrow as well. So just to go from the ones that were suffering now to hanging the suffering, particularly in Clonmel, like 5 wins in a row and 4 of them have been by Clonmel, and Clonmel are getting closer every year. Like it was only 1 point this time, and I'm sure it probably feels even worse for Clonmel now. They're still the bridesmaids. I know it was a comment that was used by Shannon Rovers captain Anya Slattery when they won the intermediate on Sunday, that I think they had lost 3 finals in a row. The bridesmaids no more, she says. So so it's good for Clonmel. They're still the bridesmaids, but they're getting closer. But just shows you that bit of experience and nous from Drom is still there. And sure, like you look at the McGraths, Emery from McGrath, Mairead Eviston had a massive game as well. Like so, they're just in that sweet spot at the moment where they just had that experience and knowing how to win, get the job done. And look, I suppose the big thing for Drom now is try and win another try them in another Munster. They have a tough semi-final against LSL, who they barely got over, I think, in the semi-final last year. They're an up-and-coming team. I think John Milan was over them. And then maybe getting back to an All-Ireland semi, but no, they lost to Lockheed last year. I suppose I'd say Munster's a minimal target. I think they know like it's All Ireland or which is tough. Like you have Sarsfields and Galway, you have a lot of good teams, Lockheed and Owler Tabala. Like you have a lot of very good teams there. Like and whoever the Kilkenny champions are, but look, it's 5 in a row is a fair achievement, and particularly because like the Tip Championship has become so competitive over the last few years. Like there was years there where it was Drom and Burgess O'Hara and everybody else was a long way back, but now you have. I think this year you had 9 good quality teams. Like next year when Shannon Rovers coming up, you're going to have 10 very good quality teams. Like so, which is only be good for Tip Camogie going forward.
Yeah, and then in the intermediate final, like you said, Shannon Rovers 12 points, Moneygall 7. That was pretty close during the first half. I think it was 7 points to 5 at half time, but Shannon Rovers took over there. And like Mary Ryan was playing very well for Moneygall at centre back, but ultimately Shannon Rovers just had a bit too much, and Aoife McLaughlin, I should say, with 9 points was the difference. Yeah,
she's the daughter of the great Pat McLaughlin. So actually it's great for Owlers for beating. So great to have people clarifying things here. All greatly received. Try and get things right here if we can. Great for, like, I suppose after you're losing so many finals, and I suppose the last few years they were just coming up against maybe the likes of Drom or Thurles Sarsfields and Knockavilla, who were just a great underage teams and were able to push through, and they were well beaten in finals. Whereas I suppose this year they were under pressure because Moneygall only won the junior last year. So if they'd come from junior and then went straight to intermediate, because you wonder when Shannon Rovers were ever going to get there. Like so, but they're there now, and I think they'll be more than competitive at senior level next year. Like they have an awful lot of good players. Like you go from experience of Aoife McLaughlin right down to maybe the likes of Celine Guinan, who would she probably could be on the Tip senior squad next year, which is a minor. I suppose there was mentioned that there was 4 Lorrha girls in that panel as well. So there's I think for Celine, like her brother Dara was on our Premier Intermediate team. So it was a great weekend for the Guinan family.
Yeah, for sure. We're joined now by Anthony Shelley to talk about the football side of things in Tipperary. Anthony, how are things with you?
All right, lads. Yep.
Good, we got. The Tipperary senior football final at the weekend. Clonmel 6-7. JK Bracken's 2-6. Was it just a game that got away from JK Bracken's a little bit early and they couldn't quite get a foothold?
Yeah, I thought we started the game quite well, and after 6 or 7 minutes, was it 2 points all, 3 points to 2. Looked to be going well. Then a vital turnover. We had a goal chance, but certainly a point chance that Scully passed it across the goal. Intercepted straight down the other end, penalty. Good save from Cuba, but Mikey Quinlivan added the rebound, and then I think it was 6 minutes later. It was 2 goals in the 14th minute, 2 goals in the space of 45 seconds, and that was it was good night and God bless really from then on.
Yeah. But on the positives for JK Bracken in the final, what impressed you?
God, it is very hard to take positives out of it. We took a heavy beating in 2019, but in a county final. But you came away from it when we were saying, we had loads of excuses. We had, I think, 11 under 21 started in that game, and
so 6 days after the Oreen final as well.
The win in the Seamus Oreen, and there was hope for the future there. But I was even though we didn't lose by it wasn't as heavy a beating this time. I came away very dejected after it. You
sort of feel you're as far away as ever,
or maybe even further, because let's be honest. Commercials got 6-7, and I hear people saying that it's a very juvenile score, but they butchered a lot of chances, and particularly maybe 2 or 3 more goal chances that they could easily have tipped over the bar, and add 3 points onto it, and it's 6-10, and people say that's a great score. So I just thought we were missing tackles. We were all year when we've been on the ball, we've been quite good, and had good periods on it. And you were going in hopeful, saying that we could get, if we could play to our best for 60 minutes, we'd have a chance. But you'd always worry that if we didn't play to our best, because in the other games when we were poor, we were very poor. I thought that's what happened on Sunday. I just thought we didn't show up at all. I don't think we could have any excuses.
Yeah, I thought you looked actually quite dangerous in possession going forward. As you say, I thought you were lackluster in defending. Like, it was too easy for Clonmel to break through you.
Yeah, and I think it all came from lads. Nobody tracked any runs from Clonmel, and that's the one thing you have to do. Like, I mean, on the ball, we'll always be as good as anybody, but it's discipline off the ball to track runs, to do the unselfish work, and we didn't do it. Like, I mean, there was 2 goals there in the second half that Lorrha was involved in, and he got one himself, and I think he set up the other for Shawnee O'Connor to tip into the net. Like he came from the wing back position, and absolutely.
Yeah. And like Peter McGarry's goal,
marker is on yards back to field, didn't even make an effort to do it. Like,
as good as Peter McGarry's goal was, Jesus, like, there was nobody near. Like, you can't saunter up as far as he did, and nobody laid a finger on him.
Without sounding too agricultural, like he should be buried. Like, I mean, he came through a gap. I think it was 4 lads, and they left a little corridor there for him, and they were all within tackling distance, and nobody put a good finish from him. But that was just indicative of everything that was going wrong for the amount of missed tackles. You need to stop at that source, and once they get through. I thought Michael Quinlivan the same thing. He was out on the wing. He pretended he wasn't interested in the game. Next thing, he was gone, and again he got the first point, was brought down for the second point, and still nobody tracking him. So that to me was the story of the whole game.
Yeah, I suppose I would say, there's no doubt Bracken's made it slightly easier for Clonmel, but I think we have to give these guys an awful lot of credit. Like, they have everything you need for a club side that should make a decent run outside a tip. Like, they have depth, they have physicality, they have athletes, they have power, they can score. Like the one without Jack Kennedy the last day, I thought, like, I'm a big fan of Michael Quinnivan. He drives me mad sometimes. I think he's so lazy as sin, but I just thought last Sunday was this is Michael we want to see every day. Like, I've always thought his best position, if you got the work rate out of him, was wing forward.
Yeah,
because his stride gets him away from everybody. I always go back to 2014 when Tip beat Laois in Port Laois. He played wing forward that day, and he terrified the life out of Laois every time. Once he took off in their solo run, forget about it. Like, you can't catch him.
Yeah, he kind of glides over the ground, just a step, and once he gets a hop, he nearly gets 20 yards a hop. Like, that it's and the trick with him is to not to let him get turned, not to get facing the goal, and every time he got the ball, there was nobody close enough to him. He got facing the goal every time. I thought myself he was man of the match.
Oh, I thought he was. I thought every time he got the ball, there was danger.
And I would have said, a bit like you, Shane, he doesn't always turn up. We were kind of, hoping Mikey has one of his quieter games, but unfortunately, county final day, he showed up, and outstanding.
And Anthony, can I ask you, like, so we're giving Clonmel every bit of credit, and we'll come back to their potential Munster run, but tangibly, what sort of effect did the dual run have for the Brackens lads this year? Like, I'm not saying that, it meant that they weren't as good at footballers or whatever, but, like, was there a carryover of injuries? You had an awful lot of games lately. Is there any sort of tangible impact it had on your preparation for a football final?
I suppose the injury to Tom Murphy was the only thing, but I mean, we've always said that as a group and as a club, we need to be playing both. We like the hurling 1 week, football the next week, because it just keeps us going. So I mean, we can't now say the hurling run would have been now. I suppose the one thing we would have preferred to not have had the relegation final the week before. You prefer to have gone into a county football final. You prefer to have at least 2 weeks to fully concentrate, where we didn't. And like the hurling game was such a big game and such a good performance from us as well to win that game with 14 men. But I wouldn't be using it as too much of an excuse, apart from in the preparation and the loss of Tom Murphy for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, but like, is it hard to get up again when you've won that, tight game against Upperchurch? Like, you're going to the well week after week.
I suppose, yeah, but I personally wouldn't have played that game against Upperchurch the week before, but the lads, the players themselves wanted to play for it, and I think we were all buzzing after that game. I think, God, it's actually the best preparation that we could have for the week after. Like, in terms of, as you said, going to the well, we knew we had it in us. But I don't think so, Shane. I think we'd be grasping at straws there, to use that as an excuse.
No, there was probably I couldn't say fatigue. It's probably an element of maybe naivety. Maybe they thought we'll go up and play football against Commercials, or maybe they've been better off keep it tight for a lot of it, get it into the second half and take it from there.
Yeah, and that's where when you don't get the 2 weeks to prepare for it, that you don't get the chance to get the tackling drills in and get all the video analysis done that you probably would need to do. Whereas Commercials had that 2 weeks. They were looking at videos of left, right, and centre and talking to them there during the game. Like they knew that, or after the game, like they knew from their video analysis over the last 2 weeks that while we get the bodies back, that we don't always get the tackles in, or if we do, they're lazy tackles, give away frees. So they knew that if they ran with us, that we give away the frees. But as it happened, we didn't even do that, so they ran at us and got through. So that's the sort of stuff that we weren't able to plan for or train for, because we only had the week.
And realistically, probably only one session, because you're probably only just relaxing on the Tuesday, just doing a bit of a recovery session. So
and that's it. And it's not even it's nearly no session, because, as you said, Tuesday can't be too heavy because of the game on Saturday, and the Friday night because of the game on Sunday. So it's not the ideal preparation, but still, like, it has never affected us before, so it would be petty to be using it as an excuse now.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a factor, though. Like, this year being involved with the Jewel Club in Dublin, and when they've had a match with the hurling and then they go to the football, I'm sure the football manager is like, getting very little preparation. Then the following week, I have them, and it's the same crack again. So I think it's very, very difficult. So I don't think it's a factor.
Yeah, now how it works in Dublin, but not only we nearly have the same team, the same team lads, and they're nearly playing in the same. 12 or 13 of them are playing in the same. You could take their jerseys home, like, because so that helps. If you have 5 or 6 lads dual and the rest playing single code only, it can be more disruptive than what it is for us.
Yeah, like, I mean, up in Dublin, most teams that are dual at the top level have completely different panels. Like, Crokes have one lad who started for both teams this year, Brian Sheehy, played in the county final that won the other day. I look at Ballyboden then, who are in both county finals. They have no crossover whatsoever in terms of the starters, whereas I think we had about 10 or 11 with Whitehall this year. So, unbelievably difficult to.
But then I would look at I'd look at the Corofin, the opponents, Lorrha, playing in the Munster semi-final. They're a dual club in Clare, and I was just listening to some of their comments after the one that they've been playing for 30 weekends on a row between league and championship hurling and football. And
but you comparatively have to ask, what's the physical nature? How much has been taken out of them per game versus, like, let's say you're playing a
potentially, but I suppose they're sort of used to it now. Like, it's like a lot more when they went, was it 19 games in a row or 20 a couple of years ago. There's no. So maybe if you get stuck into a game where maybe it's a heavy pitch and you just drains it out, you get extra time. Maybe I don't know. It all depends on who your S&C guy is and what way they're monitoring things. And do you go to the lake straight after a heavy match just to start prehab for the next game and stuff like that? So I don't know. I'm not.
You look at Lockmore. Was it 2020? They lost both finals by a point.
Yeah.
Came back in, so it was 2019, was it? And came back
2020 and in 2021.
Back in 22, and won both finals. And
some of the players haven't been right since, I would have said, though.
Both codes, over Galway, wherever,
Yeah.
I think there's a price to be paid for it, though. I know they came back and won it, but I think some of the players haven't played at the level that they previously did for the county. But look, we've had points on both sides. So, Shane, I want to ask you about the comments from Philly Ryan, who's a mentor with commercials after the game, and he said, now obviously he's saying this to G the team up, saying that this group we feel has underachieved, and he's talking about beyond Tipperary, of course, and they won a Munster before. I think that was that 2015 or what, and came very close thereafter against Ballyboden, I think it was in the semi-final. Like this team last year, they went and battered Nemo and then came up short against Newcastle West, who they have next in the Munster
Potentially, but I'd say they're hoping they have them next.
Yeah, sorry, it's is it Father Casey's that
I think they're playing a day there, and that Limerick final's only 7 days before that Munster quarter final. So
yeah, so I'm sure they'll really kind of feel like that. Those comments, they're very much pointed towards the fact that they really do expect this team to kick on and go to the next level.
Oh, look, I there's no doubt. I think Clonmel will regret last year. Like, you think you've done the hard part in beating Nemo in Páirc Uí Chaoimh live on telly, and you put on a performance that the whole country saw. So, God, there's a team there, and then you come back home for a semi-final and you lose to Newcastle West. No disrespect to Newcastle West, like they played on to the Munster final, and was it Austin Stacks or Crokes they beat or lost to by a couple of points? They really played well. Like
O'Reilly.
Sorry?
Kieran O'Reilly's, wasn't it?
Kieran O'Reilly, sorry, yeah. Look, I think they have everything there. I know they're down Jason Lonergan from last year, but like they found more players like Keane Smith, young O'Dowd. I thought was very, very good last year. Like, they have Jack Kennedy hopefully to come back, and I think a huge asset to them is the addition of Oisín McConville. I think what he's done in Ulster Club and All Ireland Club, you can't think that he's not going to use his insight and knowledge and experience will be vital over the next few weeks, that he'll get them guys right. He'll partake in knowledge. I'd love to think that the likes of Sean O'Connor and Michael Quinlivan would actually become better players, taking advice from the likes of him. How do you become more consistent in matches? And I think that's the thing with O'Connor and Quinlivan. They could do what they do last weekend, but will they do it in the next game? They need to be match winners every day. So look, I think they'll beat the Limerick champions this time, because it's the 7-day turnaround for the Limerick champions is not going to be ideal. And then I think it's a home game against Dingle, I think, in a semi-final. I think the interesting thing for me will be, I don't know if Anthony thinks, last year Thurles or Clonmel took their semi-final to Thurles, thinking the big field in Thurles was suited against Newcastle West. I just wonder, would they be better off maybe go home to Clonmel Sportsfield, turn it into a bit of a fortress, get a big home crowd there, and I suppose a lot depends on the pitch and whether maybe it might be too soft for them or what, I don't know. But I think that'd be as interesting, really. What's their strategy in terms of where they play their home games?
More of a trek as well, isn't it, Anthony?
Sorry, Shane?
It'll be more of a trek as well for Newcastle West. No harm making them drive for an extra hour.
It's funny, I think it was in 2015 they played Newcastle West and played it in Clonmel and beat them, right? Granted with 3 late scores, but they beat them. And then the next time they played them in the Semple Stadium, and they lost. So, yeah, they have a decision to make there. And going back to Shane's point and Oisín McConville, I was actually talking to Philly Ryan, and Oisín's involvement so far has been limited, but it's now kind of over to you, Oisín, from here on. So he will be more involved in this Munster run. So hopefully they can put one together. But yeah, he's experienced in these sorts of situations, as you shared with Ulster clubs and stuff like that, will be vital. And I think from here on we'll be seeing more and hearing more about Oisín McConville.
Sorry, and of course his native side, Crossmaglen, won the county title the other day. So there's always a pathway that if we go 3 or 4 games down the line, he could be coaching or involved with Clonmel against his native club. I'm sure he'd love that, Shane.
That was
No doubt about it. And like, I don't know if you're going to touch on the intermediate final, which is, I thought that was entertaining stuff on Sunday. The last 15 minutes of that were ridiculous. Like, it was the case of who didn't want to win it, the amount of chances, particularly Grange Mokler. Like, if they had lost again, there was how the hell did we do that? Like, and I was fully sure Barry Grogan was going to kick that. Like, it was a long 43 yards out, I think, and or maybe it was longer. I said he's nailed them all. He's given a masterclass in free taking off the ground. He's going to do it again.
Unfortunately, I was looking at, because normally wouldn't I tell you how dramatic it was. Yeah. I had listened to the second part on the radio on the way over to the senior game, and once you've done that, you tell them to come home and put it on the telly to watch it again. But it was so exciting. You'd have to come home and say, God, I have to see this. Just thought with the last one that maybe his standing foot, as he was taking it, might have slipped a little bit, and he didn't get the connection that he needed. But it was an amazing performance from Barry. You might be aware of this. Up until Sunday morning, Barry was a big doubt for this game. He went over on the ankle on Friday night up at training, and so much so that they thought he was gone. And had Mark Russell down on the field practicing freeze on Saturday in case. But I think Barry played a county final before with 2 broken ribs, so I suppose maybe a damaged ankle wasn't going to keep him out. You'd never know looking at him on Sunday that he had a damaged ankle. It was just an exhibition of free taking, wasn't it? And funny enough, it was one of the easier ones at the end.
Yeah.
Compared to what he had before that. But as I said, I think he's standing for when he planted his left foot, it kind of gave a bit, and he went to the side. He wasn't fully balanced kicking it, but 2 minutes before that, penalty for Grange Mokler missed, free for Grange Mokler missed. But
they did everything not to score some of those chances.
Yeah,
like, you could see they were a team absolutely, I wouldn't say panic stricken, but they're under. They know they're so close to making history and getting back senior, and like I thought it
weighed heavily on them. Did you think that? Yeah, I thought it weighed heavily on them, and I was even.
But I look at them as a team. I think that's a senior team that's going to do that. Like I would have seen some of these guys in underage level for Tip, but I think how are more of these guys not in with Tip the last few years? Manus McFadden, Mark O'Mara. I know Ben Comerford is young. Mikey Lyons is incredible. Like I said, there's more. There's at least 4 or 5 Grange Mokler lads should be on the Tip senior squad next year. Easily. If not that starting.
I think there was a feeling over the last couple of years that they're too small for intercounty. Yeah. But I mean, God, they have everything apart from that. Manus McFadden, I thought, was outstanding last Sunday. Mikey Lyons, he'd be disappointed with the penalty. And I was wondering at the time on the radio, could they have tipped it over? Like it was almost full time. The game was level. But I suppose then you don't practice penalties all year to tip them over the bar. But it might have been the thing to do in that particular situation.
Okay, well, great drama in Tipperary Football Club. What about County then? Peter Keane seems to have, well, look, they obviously had deep discussions, Anthony, but it's not going to happen. So that feels like, what would have been a very safe pair of hands, that slipped through Tipperary's fingers. Yeah,
and I'm not really sure why it did. I think it was just a change of heart in Peter Keane's. Like you'd hear, the money and all.
I'm led to believe. I think it was that one of the coaches wasn't able to commit, and I don't think it was from Kerry, but
no, they had a Kildare
up from Kildare that they were really chasing him hard, and he wasn't able to commit. And I think that was
he pulled out last Thursday week, and then
I think that was the one that that's what made Peters. I think he wanted him, and once he wasn't on board,
I think he got spooked then and pulled out. But there are heavy discussions. Probably wouldn't be right to say it. No, but they are in heavy discussions with another guy that has a fairly decent record from up around Kildare area as well. So hopefully in the next couple of days they will have something.
Like I while Peter's name came out and just talking to a few Tip football people, I always just the vibe I got from them, they were very fearful that he was going to back out. And there was always something to me said that Peter Keane would be a great appointment, but is it realistic to expect a man 3.5 hours away to be coming up? You'd say 3.5 hours away if you're in your late 30s and 40s and you're an up and coming coach and you're full of vim and vigor. Whereas Peter, you just wonder what had he to gain by coming to Tipperary at this stage.
He's not fully to 3.5, is he? I know he's from Carsiveen, but he's living in Lorrha, isn't it? And, you'd have to say, like, when the news broke on the Monday night beforehand and everybody was in the papers and the whole lot, the longer it went on without it being an official announcement, more worried you were getting. And for me, I would have been delighted with it if he came, because I feel that, well, I know that we have a few lads that are thinking of going travelling, and that maybe a name like Peter Keane might have kept him. Like, and from what I hear, the first thing we'll have to do when the new manager is appointed is find a goalkeeper, because Michael O'Reilly is apparently going travelling for the year, and you'd be worried that one or two might go with him, or particularly the Clonmel lads, and a lot of them have mileage. So whoever is involved, the main thing would be to keep the majority of last year's panel, and as you said earlier, Shane, maybe add a few of the younger lads, a few like those Grange Moakler lads into it to strengthen it up. Because even though, there's a Sean Daly down there in Grange Moakler, great players. Probably we didn't have his best game on Sunday, but he's definitely one that I would be looking for as well. So there are players there. I mean, you only need to get 24, 25 players together, and you will get them in the county. But the thing is, you can't afford to lose anyone.
In a way, like is what Tipperary needs. Rather, like Peter Keane, I'm sure would have been an excellent appointment, but like he's used to working with the best quality players, in Kerry. So like we're obviously going to be trying to pull a panel together, go through maybe a few dogfights in the lower tiers. That we need a name, obviously, to galvanise people, Shane. But at the same time, someone who's got the experience that they can get through the lower divisions. Do we need that, or is that asking for too much, considering where we're at?
You kind of need a bit of everything. I definitely think a name is important, as to say, I think there's still another year or two left in that core of that minor team from 2011. They're pushing 30 now. A lot of them guys. Like, could you convince Michael Quinlivan come back? Or could you Evan Comerford? Like, there's an awful lot of guys that have drifted away, or particularly even since 2020, that could still be playing and doing something. And then you're trying to do it in Division 4 and stuff. And like, I would have heard the backroom team that was set up for Peter Keane, very, very strong, with good, strong Tipperary personalities. I'm not sure whether the new manager would be taking on them guys as well, so I'm not even going to mention their names, so I don't think it'd be fair. But if this new guy, whose name I've heard, all right, if he has I don't know whether I assume he'd be bringing in his own coach, whether it'd be, I assume it to be somebody to be well respected as well. Like, so I think if it's not going to be a big name, it needs to be somebody with a bit of a personality who is maybe able to ring guys up and talk them around and make them feel that they're coming into something positive. And what's progress for Tip next year? I think promotion out of Division 4 will be tough, but I think it's attainable if you had everybody. Munster, you could get to a Munster final, but is that a double-edged sword where you could end up getting walloped by Kerry? Like, it's like, you'd fancy your chances against Waterford. You don't know what Clare are going to be like without Colin Collins. Like, you'd have to think there's the chance maybe they won't have the same sort of togetherness, and maybe the edge might be gone out of them. So you could end up into a Munster final, but then it's the vagaries of this new format where are Tip really ready to play in a Sam Maguire Championship next year? They're probably not. But they could end up in there very easily if they got 2 wins in the Munster Championship.
And Anthony, do you think it's most likely that Tip will be going outside the county, or is there a chance of going inside the county?
At this stage, it looks very much like they're going outside the county. But I would have been disappointed that they don't appear to have ever had at any stage a serious look inside the county to see could they put a management team together. And I believe that the people were there, like, to do it, and I'd have 4 or 5 names again, like Shane said. Probably wouldn't be fair to mention their names now, but I'd have 4 or 5 names within the county that I would have locked into a room and said, "You're not coming out till you have your various roles," because like it's been a bit of, let's be honest, it's been a bit of a joke. Like David Power resigned in May, and here we are in October, and we still haven't got a manager.
Like I would have said, like Monaghan were very late getting Vinnie Corey, but like Vinnie Corey knew every player in Monaghan. Like it wasn't, as far as if it looks like we're getting an outside manager now, he has to then. How would he put a panel together? He doesn't know. He's more or less relying on who his selectors will be nearly to pick his panel for him.
Yeah, and like I mean, he's coming in. He hasn't seen any of the championship. So he'll be from here to Christmas looking at clubber, looking back at matches and stuff like that. And as you say, he is going to be dependent on lads to give him advice and who's there. But again, all of last year's backroom team have been dismissed or seem to have been dismissed. So I would have seen a small bit of continuity, even if it had to be a new front face to it.
Okay, well, look, I think we'll close up on that. So another episode of Tippcast in the bag. So thanks very much, Anthony, for joining us.
Anthony.
Yeah, no problem, lads. Yep.
Yeah, and Shane, anything else you want to touch on, or we cut it out of that?
No, I suppose I'm looking forward to the county final. I just hope just get another good game. Hopefully, there's not too many. It's a bank holiday weekend. There's not many other games on. Like if the weather is good, you can go down as a neutral. We'll try and get as many people in and have a good atmosphere, and I suppose get another. Oh, it's on TG Car as well. I'm surprised that I thought maybe they would have taken on. Maybe I don't know whether there's a lot of Galway's on this weekend and Kilkenny. I thought maybe they couldn't get an agreement to let them in. Like so, because I know when it comes to these things, county boards don't like turning away money, but I know Tipper a little strapped at the moment, so I suppose they can't turn away. I think it's 5 or 10 grand I think they get for these games. So
yeah, it previously was 10 if it's live, 5 was deferred. I don't know if the fees have changed after all the streaming on board in there in the last time. But look, we'll chat again next week, Shane. Enjoy the weekend.
Cheers.